morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, October 9th, 2025. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Thursday, everyone. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame right here. You can see the previous session, really good rally right out of the gate, took us into the previous highs, and it took us right into the top of the multi-day range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-day compression still intact. And here, as we head into the RTH Open, we have a very narrow compression that is developed right at the previous week's high. We're right at that level as we speak. And again, with Fed Chair Powell on deck to speak here shortly, that could move the needle one way or another. Right here, heading into today, the early thought was to watch for prices above the previous session's high. How would a response react in that area? And right now we're seeing an early rejection of those prices. We're seeing defense of those prices, and that could lead to a rotation into the previous session's midpoint, a break of which could open up a return into the 6760s below. And that would just be the normal ebb and flow of the current markets within this range. So it's not that this is some bearish rotation that will take us way lower. If we do continue to see reaction and rejection at the previous session's high, then the mid and a little bit lower could be in play as we trade within this trading range ahead of NFP Friday. So overall, still trending up right now, but volatility clearly coming down. 5-day range compression still in play, and we have yet to see full-on expansion out of this range. If we did see an upside push through 68.15, 68.20, it opens up a price discovery move as this thing continues to churn out new all-time highs. All right, looking at the NQ. Here's the NQ right here. You can see again, heading into today in our trading room, we were watching for a potential thrust reversal signal to develop. That is a rejection of prices above the previous high, and that could lead to a rotation back into the previous session's midpoint, which is 25,200. A failure to hold that level opens up perhaps a test into the 8-period average below at around 25,100. That could lead to a little bit of a counter move. Again, right now we have a sloping trading range, very well defined trading range, but it is upward sloping slightly. We just got a new high, so if we did drop, we're not necessarily looking for new lows. We're looking for this thing to just kind of drop within the range of the previous session, maybe landing somewhere in here. That could be in play if, again, bears continue to defend the previous session's highs, which currently has been the case, but we'll see how that sentiment changes once Fed Chair Powell begins to speak. All right, looking at crude oil. Before we get to crude oil here, I do want to mention that we do have our PivotBoss Masters training coming up next week. If you are in PivotBoss Masters, you can go to your PivotBoss Masters dashboard and get more information there. This is the upcoming schedule. Basically, the PivotBoss Thrust Reversal Pro, that's going to be introduced, and that will kick off the Pro series of signals that we have. Basically, the thrust reversal is what we're looking at in today's market at the moment, but the Pro version has a ton of upgrades that make it super, super powerful with built-in confirmers and filters that really, really help the signal progress into a stronger signal. That leads to a layered visual signal here that progresses as the signal gets even stronger. It's quite a sight to see here. Again, we're going to be learning that next week, and anyone who is a part of PivotBoss Masters has access to this entire week of training here at no additional cost. If you're not yet in Masters, it is the best deal out there for trading education and also for proprietary tools. So again, you can get instant access here. These tools right now will be released on the first wave for TradingView and ThinkorSwim platforms. All right, back to the charts here. The crude oil chart right now down 0.2% right now. You can see kind of a hold pattern here. We had a great move the previous session, but didn't quite get to 63s before turning down. The upward trajectory is still intact, but that turn down wasn't the best, but it wasn't also super bad. Today we have gotten already a failed new low and a turnaround a bit. This appears to be a bit of a range after strength, and perhaps there is the ability to push through 64s and make it a bit higher. Again, when this thing starts to see selling pressure, we'll know it. It gets hit pretty fast, and the wave comes pretty hard there. So again, once we see selling pressure, it'll definitely lead to some high range downside price discovery. Until then, these pullbacks here could be a building of energy before the next wave of strength. Through 63s could really open things up down the road for crude oil. Looking at gold, down 0.3% right now. I mentioned in the previous session to our trading room that this 3-day range was about as good as we could have expected last Friday. Last Friday afternoon, we mentioned that the next 2 to 3 day breakout move would be big, and we'd get through that 4,000 level at the very least. And we've kind of seen that play out in spades. Now we may be beginning our next phase of compression, especially with today's digestive day developing here. We have the previous high, we have today's pullback low, or just this in general, and that could become the range here for the next few sessions. Very similar to how it's behaved on these spurts here just before the next move ahead. So we may be sideways for another day or 2 or 3, and then see the next wave come out up ahead as this market remains in a high intensity price discovery phase. All right, looking at the YM. Here's the YM. You can see that compression right there. Big time compression, but high volatility compression. A lot of sell side bias in the 60-minute time frames there. Does that suggest that we have a bit more downside to go? How low do we go? If that's the case, just on a normal 1 to 2 day rotation, something like this here, couple of days, you may see a return back toward the 46,330 level, into 46,231, which is the key range here, or perhaps as low as that previous low and the 46K zone. So how deep do we go, if at all? Remember, this market has stayed firmly within the bullish Pima trigger zone here, which means we're not even getting below 46.5 right now. So it could be one strong down day followed by rejection, and that could lead to the next squeeze in all likelihood, until this thing proves that it can really sustain a down move. So right now, this is a major buildup of energy, and we have a huge move coming. But we kind of said that last week, and now it's kind of developed another range here with potential forthcoming expansion. Which way will it be? We'll continue to watch it very, very closely here. But the overall trajectory remains up, but we are pegged right at that 47K market structure. Are we headed to 49, back to 45, or do we go to the midline of 48 and 46? You know, somewhere in there. So big time level here, big time compression, big time movement coming soon. All right, looking at Bitcoin. Here's Bitcoin right here. We've talked about how significant the move through that 125 level was. 125K came right up to it, pushed through it, hard offered and rejected, defended and turned down, and here we are again holding. Are we starting to put in a strong pivot high? Kind of a day one rejection here at these levels. Again, this is the trading range right there. Or if we go back a little bit, this is the trading range that we've been within, and we've just taken out the highs and then taken out the 125 again and holding. This has the potential to turn back down, but in the current wave of strength, it is hard to jump in front of that freight train and sell it. Instead, this has been very, very buoyant and highly bullish to begin the quarter. Is this a moment where we finally see any early shorts here get trapped and we drive through this level? We have 137.5 would be a key level above, and that is the midline between 125 and 150 up above. That's the midline right there. So this is a big time market structure level as well. Can we get through it, or do we start to turn back down? 100K is the lower extreme of that range. We still haven't tested it. We still haven't gotten close to value in this chart, and perhaps we do not see a pullback that deep to get us into that territory, but 125K will be the level that gives us the earliest idea of which way we're going. So continue to watch that level right there. It could still go either way for Bitcoin. All right, looking at ETH, lastly here, down 2.79%. This one, as we noted before, had a hard rejection. Again, another thrust reversal. Just wait till you get a look at those Thrust Reversal Pro signals. Pretty impressive. Looking at this move here, that's been quite the pullback already. It took 4,800 offered, 47, 46, now 45, and every 100 level down is just getting offered on the way down. That's quite a bit of weakness, and that's right in line with what we mentioned before. On these hard moves, that's massive strength, but if it's within range, the tendency is for a turnaround to occur. How deep do we go now is the question. If Ethereum's starting to lead lower, does Bitcoin start to follow suit as well? And how deep do we go? Between 36 and 38 would provide the next tremendous short-term buying opportunity. And then if we get down into this zone, which again we may not get as deep as any of those levels, this could be a huge next double zone down below. So how deep do we go? We'll continue to watch this as well. Right now, quite a bit of sell side here, trying to find a little bit of a low, but really needs to recover 44.50 on an intraday basis to kind of get the bulls more interested to the upside. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out here heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.